BabyAngelGeronimo editions, KHOODEELAAR television channel. Created, researched, and edited by me, Muhammad Haque. KHOODEELAAR television channel, part B. Timed at 22:15 hours GMT, London, UK, within quotation marks, Tuesday, 13th of December 2022. Only on the internet, not on satellite, not on terrestrial, and most certainly not on cable. This is the second part B of today's editions of the KHOODEELAAR television channel. Now, in the Times, Murdoch owned, there is a flash in there. Because of the instability of the screen, this image cannot be shown, but just accidentally maybe. That is the way that the paper can be shown, and it's the top one, which I shall read. William, that is Diana's elder son, was protected by lies, claims Harry in Netflix trailer. And it's a piece byline to Valentine Law. We have seen the internet edition, which is paywalled, so we couldn't access the full piece, which is detailed on pages 10 and 11. But the Times piece on page 1 says Buckingham Palace and Kensington Palace both declined to comment on this. And Meghan is quoted as saying in the Netflix part due this week, I wasn't being thrown to the wolves, I was being fed to the wolves. The rest of the 6-part series is due to be released by Netflix on Thursday morning, and will explore the Sussexes' decision to step away from their royal duties, not the royal duties, and settle in America. The latest trailer starts with Harry saying, I wonder what would have happened to us had we not got out when we did. Meghan adds, our security was being pulled. Everyone in the world knew where we were. The trailer goes on to show Harry filming a video diary of what he calls his freedom flight before breaking into a grin. The Duke also talks of institutional gaslighting, while a stack of newspapers is shown on the screen. Christopher Bowsey, a tech entrepreneur and long-standing champion of the Sussexes, also appears, saying people were actively recruited to disseminate disinformation. Well, disseminate disinformation against Harry and Meghan. That is what he's meaning. There is the picture on page 1 of the Times of the boy Jack Johnson, aged 10, who was among the 3 children who died after being pulled from a lake. A 6-year-old is in critical condition. So this boy tried to save the others, and in the process, this boy lost his life. Children dying in this way can be completely heartbreaking. Now, the Times says that in the next part or parts of the Netflix documentary, explosive claims are made, but none of the claims land with a bang. Now, why should the Times say that? Why should there be a ban? And then there is this main heading on page 10. Palace tries to avoid fight over Sussex series poison. Well, if it is being called a poison, then that is a fight. Former royal insiders have picked out inaccuracies, including Meghan's claim that she had been advised by the palace not to invite her niece Ashley Hale, with whom Meghan had a good relationship because her mother is Meghan's half sister Samantha Markle, with whom Meghan did not have a good relationship. It was entirely her decision which family members she wanted to invite to her own wedding. One source said she herself decided that she wouldn't invite her, that is her niece, because she wanted to shield her from the attention. The source said it was untrue that the couple had not been supported by the palace. We worked day and night for them for years. It was utterly relentless. They know they were supported, etc., etc. And so we shall be leaving this intro to the next series at that stage, and we shall be commenting in later editions. Now, there is a piece in the Times today, that is Tuesday, the 13th of December, 2022, that I agree with. Why? Because the person who wrote it is somebody I loathe, because she's a racist and she is a front-line attacker of Muslims generally. She's a former Guardian kind of name who became absolutely anti the Guardian and absolutely racist. And today, the heading in her column is absolutely something that is true, which is very rare. Trying to struggle with my injury to the hand that was caused by frostbite, according to the doctors. So I'm recovering from the frostbite. I've got injured fingers, which we've made difficult for the last almost year for me to use my fingers to turn the page or write. I can't even write my name by hand. That is what has happened. So, anyone noticing the black on the finger is looking at the injured finger. Most injured finger, that one. So, I'm struggling to find the page that I referred to where I agreed with the writer. The headline is least. And I need to justify that, detail that, because that writer is somebody I loathe. And also, This is the piece that I agree with the heading. Assisted dying is just another name for killing. That is the heading to Melanie Phillips. We are all terrified of a painful death, but the most vulnerable are at risk if euthanasia is legalized. Now, that is one of the things that fascists would do. And one of the things that the so called liberals are doing under the guise of liberalism. And this is something that is taking place, that is being promoted at every stage without examining the evidence. That is what we shall be talking about another time. But that's the point I wanted to make about Melanie Phillips. There's something that I agree with. And there is a word frostbite on the editorial as well. My frostbite injury is Operation Frostbite. That is a different kind of context, but the word is there. Just the day I mentioned frostbite injury, coincidentally. And there is only one letter in the Times about Rwanda that Matthew the fascist, posing as a liberal, promoted the Rwanda plot to deport asylum seekers to Rwanda. Matthew Paris, 10th of December, mentions an apparent paradox in the Rwanda proposals that a large number of people will have to be sent there to reduce the number wanting to come here. There is also a moral paradox in the government's message. On the one hand, it is touting the policy as a deterrent to further migration. Within bracket, it says, who would want to go to Rwanda? And on the other, it is saying that Rwanda is a perfectly decent place to live. Both statements cannot be true. Now, this sounds like a Polish name, but I could be wrong. This is Lenka Medlik, Rye, East Sussex. We shall explore this topic later. And the Times is, of course, a racist, whites only newspaper. Birthdays today. Nobody gets old or gets even born in Asia or Africa. Only Europeans and whites get born and they age. How stupid of the Times. That is one of the dirtiest darts that the dirty digger has inflicted. And this is the empire hitting back against Pakistan. How is that? A historic test series win in Pakistan is testament to England's fearless play. Fuck off. This is testament to nothing. A win in sport is a testament to absolutely nothing. And the Times is exaggerating. Now, going back to the Sunday Times and the investigative piece that I read from in the earlier edition, jointly co-written by Gabriel Pogrand and Jack Claver. It is unmasked. In the panic during the first COVID wave, hundreds of firms were swiftly given contracts to supply medical protective gear. They were paid £7.4 billion, but much of the equipment ended up unused. These British-based firms got the biggest deals. This is the PPE rich list. And the worst one is, of course, Michelle Moon. And this one, full support healthcare limited. They got a contract, £2 billion. Sarah Stout and her husband Richard Stout. I shall read that particular entry in full just to show the criminality inherent in the government and in the judiciary, in parliament. Most people will have never heard of full support, a small family owned business based in Wellingborough, a market town in Northamptonshire. Yet its owner, Sarah Stout, 49, a former nurse, and her husband, Richard, 52, are the recipients of easily the single biggest PPE contract of the pandemic. They received payments for protective equipment, including gloves, medical gowns, and masks valued at £2 billion. The year before the pandemic, the annual cost of running Trident, Britain's strategic nuclear deterrent, was 2.3 billion, according to House of Commons Library. The couple scrambled to order consignments of PPE after receiving a tip off about a deadly virus in China in late 2019. Then they waited. In March, as the first wave hit Britain, full support was directly awarded orders worth billions. But they did not need to be competed for or declared in the normal way because the company had an existing agreement with the government through which it already supplied NHS trusts. Since then, the married couple have lived a life of luxury. Now, listen to this. Recent purchases they made include £6.75 million home with 19,000 square feet of space, 18 acres of landscaped gardens, lawns and 2 lakes, an equestrian center to cater for Sarah's love of horse riding, and a £30 million villa in the Caribbean. As for the precise extent of their profits, last summer the Stouts based their company offshore in Jersey, a tax haven. Filings at Companies House do not disclose revenue or profit. They say that the firm and its immediate parent entity paid £7,600 in corporate tax as of last September, but do not say what they paid HMRC in total last year. What we do know, according to official data, is that their company ultimately produced 140 million items designed, designated do not use by health officials. Their estimated value, £84 million. Now, this is the kind of scandal. Now, this is not something that is an obscure incident. This is the normal kind of thing that happens in Britain. Now, let me explain. When I say that Keir Starmer has been politically murdering the Labour Party or had politically murdered the Labour Party, what do I mean? I don't mean that he has murdered anyone, any individual member of the Labour Party or supporter of the Labour Party. What I mean is that the ideals for which the Labour Party had been established more than 100 years ago, those ideals have been murdered. Now, they've been murdered ever since Keir Hardy died or finished being an active politician. The point is that when he was the Director of Public Prosecutions, this Keir Starmer, weeks before he finished his 5-year stint as the Director of Public Prosecutions, DPP, Keir Starmer unnecessarily, without any reason, without any call, without any emergency whatsoever for it, added new draconian, fascistic hurdles in order to prevent the most poorest, the most vulnerable people among the benefit claimants getting the most necessary benefits. He criminalized it. And this unmasked series, the investigation by Gabriel Pogrand and Jacques Klaba, is one of the things that Keir Starmer has not spoken about. Now, this is 7.4 billion. It's only a tip of the iceberg. It must be at least 20 billion pounds, if not more, that has been kind of routinely robbed and looted, mainly by conservatives, but all of them, the looters, are dishonest entrepreneurs who were allowed to rob the public of billions of pounds. Now, if you add up or add together all the claimants for benefits, ranging from 50 pounds to 100 pounds or something, it would take 1,000 years to amount to billions. So, why did Keir Starmer introduce harsh criminalizing laws against the poorest while he has been silent about this kind of robbery? Where do you begin to condemn him? Poverty, hardship, as homelessness and lack of housing are intentionally, deliberately created by the UK state, especially by the local councils, especially by local councils. And all the Labour controlled local councils are as corrupt as the conservative controlled ones. Look at the state of the council in Croydon, which has changed hands from the corrupt Labour group to the corrupt conservative majority. And the conservative majority in terms of power, because the conservatives have been allowed to foist an elected mayor on Croydon, especially because the Lib Dems idiotically completely misunderstood the remedy to corruption and thought that adding more corruption was like ending corruption. That's how bizarre and stupid local campaigners are and have been. When we set up the KHOODEELAAR campaign, KHOODEELAAR is a Siloti word exclamation. I shall explain that later in this edition. When I set up the KHOODEELAAR campaign and got only one person that supported me in December 2003, that was K. Jordan. I did that in full knowledge that a proper intelligent campaign against a local council, corrupt local council, was absolutely destined to win and destroy the local council politically, which it did. We never appeared on a single television program until 2006, really. So we did the program campaign by me producing literally millions of words in writing and hundreds of leaflets. I produced every day. I produced a KHOODEELAAR leaflet. And the main focus was the Labour controlled Tower Hamlets Council. Totally discredited them, exposed them, fragmented them. One of the offshoots, not the only offshoots, was the ability on the part of the crook, Lutfur Rahman, to feel that they could mount a credible attack on the Labour Party politically in Tower Hamlets. That was the KHOODEELAAR campaign creating that opportunity. All right. So we shall elaborate on that particular offshoot later. Not this edition, but in later editions. As for Shamima Begum, let's say again, a Yazidi sex slave speaking to an anti Muslim so called investigative reporter or journalist or whatever, making the claim anonymously that she witnessed Shamima Begum give a radical rousing speech asking people to go to commit suicide attacks, etc., etc. Now, these are things, details that are not new in the context of this so called ISIS narrative. But why is this Yazidi woman, refusing to identify herself? We shall examine this again in later editions. As for the situation in Pakistan, as I said before, Imran Khan has been caught. As I said, he was being a lazy bastard. I had not used that expression about him before, but on this occasion I did earlier in the first edition today. I called him a lazy bastard because he took it for granted that his kind of superior sloganeering about rule of law, etc., etc., were too overwhelming for the ordinary masses, political masses in Pakistan to get through. And get through they did, because 4 years, it took him 4 years to procedurally respond to the defamation claims against him by the Muslim League, the Nawaz Sharif lot, I think. I mean, how did they do that? How did he manage to do that? Imran Khan must have been a lazy bastard, taking for granted that nobody would notice his laziness. I'm not for a moment saying that he was guilty of defamation. I'm saying that he is guilty and will remain forever guilty of having been lazy on this occasion and behaving like a lazy bastard. We shall add to the negative side of Imran Khan's political kind of propaganda in due course. Now, how long have we been here? We've been here 28, 29 minutes, is it? 29, 28 minutes. So we shall again break this edition at this point and we'll come back a bit later with the third edition.